All right, ladies and gentlemen, mostly gentlemen, here we are again. So today, I've got a few pieces of information for the ladies to start off, and then we'll give a couple of pieces of information for the guys, and one example that I think can be useful that you may actually want to try to use in conversation with a woman who you may be interested in trying to establish some type of workable relationship with. First and foremost, it appears more and more that it's becoming very clear that empathy and selfishness are not going to occupy the same space at the same time. And so for the ladies, it's very important to kind of reflect on this a little bit if you think that you may want to have a husband and a family. And that the more selfishness you practice, the more you will kill off your ability to empathize with other people. And that'll make it very difficult, if not absolutely impossible, for you to have a healthy relationship with the husband and also with your children. There's miles and miles and miles of papers and studies that you could look into to reinforce this. I don't know that that's actually necessary. I think probably with a little logical thinking and self-observation, it should be abundantly clear that it's much more profitable for you to practice empathy than it is to practice selfishness. And that may seem counterintuitive on its face, because if we're talking about self-preservation, you would think, well, don't I need to be selfish in order to preserve myself? And actually, no. And the reason for that, as I've stated before, is there is no such thing as independence. That's over. We all need each other. We all rely on each other. And the more we can work together to sustain ourselves, the more we'll be able to effectively sustain ourselves. And so there's lines that need to be drawn from time to time where obviously you can't just take everything to the extreme. It's very ineffective to just completely disregard your own self-preservation and empathize with everyone else all the time. It's also completely ineffective to just focus on selfishness all the time and disregard your duty to empathize with other people. So you'll find there's a couple things here I'm going to say that might trigger you a little bit, but please try to stay calm and think these things through in a logical way. First is, your ego is your enemy. The second is, your pride is your most dangerous thief. The third is, your abortions are your future. And the fourth is, your complaint is your confession. So to wrap that all up here, if you don't see a man as human, you're not fit for a man. This should be obvious, but there's an unlimited amount of evidence to show that most women don't see most men as human. There's a great documentary called The Red Pill by a lady named Cassie J. You could look into that, and that might help. You could also look into the published OkCupid data, and that as far as hard data is concerned, I think is very, very eye-opening and will help you to understand all of these things. A couple more bits of information for the ladies. There's no such thing as equality. There is no such thing as independence, like I said before. And there's also no such thing as unconditional love. Now, if we were all able to live in a fantasy world where we could operate on unconditional love and equality and independence, and I don't know that that would actually be a better world, even in someone's imagination. And I don't know that that's something that we should really strive for. But you may hear these things thrown around as concepts, and just on their face, they're ridiculous. But it appears that we have an ever-growing number of young women and middle-aged women that have been bathed in these ideas, and they're extremely poisonous. Okay, so ladies, you're not equal to one another. Okay, you're not even equal to yourself from this morning. You're not independent from one another. You're not independent from your family. And you're surely not independent from men as an entire group. There is no one in this world that loves you unconditionally. You may say that unconditional love is appropriate for, your children, and I'm here to tell you the stark reality here is you don't love your children unconditionally. And unfortunately, that may be difficult for you to come to grips with, but the numbers don't lie. It appears that the vast majority of you don't even like your children. If you were to like your children and love your children and try to pretend to yourself that you love your children unconditionally, I would encourage you to imagine that there may be a series of events and behaviors that your children could participate in that would definitely result in the amount that you love them being decreased. And so the effective conclusion that you could come to here very easily, if you were to think logically, is that that means that your love for them isn't unconditional. And if you can come to that realization, then it may not be so painful to understand that as men, we don't love you unconditionally. That's impossible. That being said, for the guys, as we've covered already, most women don't see you as even a human being. Okay? The most common reaction to that, once you find out that that's a reality, is to become defensive and resentful and upset. And that's natural, and that's okay for about 30 seconds. After that, to continue holding on to those reactions going forward is going to slow you down. It is going to drag you down. It is going to wear you down. And that's extremely unfruitful. It's not going to help you in your business. It's not going to help you form strong relationships with women. It's not going to help you have more children that love and respect you and are then going to go out into the world as wholesome, complete adults that decide to have children and continue your family's bloodline. So be very careful with this resentment and do what you can to overcome that as quickly as you can. Okay, this might hurt a little bit, but there's some strategies that you're going to come across that are actually fairly effective. And you'll find that you are going to be unable to hold a woman accountable for almost anything ever. And so it's a fool's errand to spend a whole lot of time attempting to do that. If a woman doesn't hold herself responsible for her own thoughts and behaviors and realize that the positive or negative results from those are her own responsibility, there is absolutely nothing that you can do that is going to establish that. And holding someone accountable for their mistakes and failures is a very negative experience. And so just hoping and praying that you can transact in that accountability with women it's like throwing change in a wishing well. It's very childish and it's very wasteful. So you should stop doing that. One of the ways that you can stop doing that is, and this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, but run with this idea in your own head and come up with a solution maybe similar to this, maybe different than this, but this is just a starting point for you, okay? So you may be better off looking at a woman who's sitting across from you, attempting to have a conversation. You may be better off imagining that it's a retarded 12-year-old child instead of an adult woman. And that kind of hurts a little bit, but even though it may look in appearances like a complete adult, once you begin to communicate and go places and do things together, in order to reduce the amount of frustration and reduce the amount of friction that you experience, imagining that this person is a child is going to help you, because you wouldn't spend a whole lot of energy being angry and resentful with like a 10 or an 11 or 12-year-old child, right? And then if you were to be spending this time with a mentally retarded 12-year-old child, you would really, really not be getting offended at the things that they say. You would look at them more like someone that you could help. And getting angry with them would really be foolish, wouldn't it? So when a woman acts out of pocket, when a woman acts like she's retarded, when she plays dumb, and you know that she's not dumb, she's just playing dumb, it's not really in your best interest to try holding this woman accountable for her behavior with hopes that she's going to mature and rise to the occasion. That's ridiculous. And just to kind of take it to the extreme here, which is what I'm doing just to give you an example of something, if you imagine that this woman is a retarded 12-year-old child, and then you treat the situation as if that's the case, it's probably going to help you not be so upset and resentful and whatnot. So don't fall into the lethal trap of giving women credit for what they say. A lot of times they're smart enough to tell you the things that you want to hear, and they're politically correct enough, and they have the internet in their pocket. So it's very easy for them to do a very small amount of research and then know absolutely the right answers to whatever your questions might be. And that doesn't mean at all in any way that they're being truthful with you or being or operating in good faith. Okay? So you'll hear this being said by many people on the internet, and it's absolutely true, and that's you need to give women credit for what they do, not what they say. And that goes for women as well. Give men credit for what they do, not what they say. And the more a man treats you in a way that reinforces that he is going to do the things that he says he is going to do, then the more you can trust him. And it's very appropriate for you to observe that and accept that when dealing with a man. Now, if you're a man that's dealing with a woman, it doesn't work that way. You may find a unicorn. You probably will not. Don't be pissed about it. It's a waste of your life energy. Okay, so guys, don't answer questions. If you're going to, here's some tips for you going on dates, okay? You're going to be going on dates with women. You're going to be approaching them to see if you can make babies with them. I would encourage you to do quite a bit of that so that you can find an appropriate woman and have as many children as you can. I've said before, and I'll say again, and I'll die on this hill, that having wholesome, respectful children is the biggest W you can stack in this life. Okay? At any point, I would give up $1 million or millions of dollars to be reconnected in an effective, fruitful way with my own children. And also, I would continue giving up millions of dollars to be able to produce more wholesome, respectful, connected children. So do what you can to accomplish that and try to do it as early as possible. So dating tips here. Don't answer questions. Well, what do you mean don't answer questions? What kind of asshole tries to have a conversation with somebody and won't answer their questions? We're not speaking in absolutes here. We're speaking in generalities. I mean, I'm just in here by myself. There's no we. So I'm speaking in generalities. I'm not speaking in absolutes. I may actually speak in absolutes, but I'm hoping that you're smart enough to know that I'm not actually speaking in absolutes. I'm just trying to help you. So I'm talking to you in generalities here. So don't get too freaked out. Okay, so the time for you to be answering questions from a woman who you're vetting for a relationship is extremely small, and it's basically over. We are past that bridge, all right? You need to ask her questions. And when she's asking you questions, say less, okay? You need to figure out how to answer questions with questions. You need to learn how to redirect a conversation and understand very clearly that the person that's asking the questions is the person that's in the driver's seat. And that needs to be you, my friends, at all times. If this woman is questioning you, guess what? She's questioning you. That's not going to work. Now, you have to train this woman, this potential woman, to not do that. And you have to do it in a way that's friendly. You can't be some straight up asshole. Unless, of course, you have the status required to behave that way. You probably don't. So it's going to be much more effective for you to be friendly, firm, fair, approachable, entertaining, funny, and nice to be around. Not rigid, not foolish, not no fun to be around. That's ridiculous. She is not trying to get to know you. Even if she thinks she is. She has a software program. Think of it like this. She has a software program that's running. Okay? It's pre-programmed. She's building a file on you. You are never, ever allowed to participate in that. You need to draw a hard, fast line when it comes to that. And that's in your head. You are not allowed to say to this woman, "Don't ask me no questions." You're a fucking idiot if you're saying that to women. Okay? That goes against all the rules, man. Okay? The better way to do that is to just control that and communicate and behave in such a way that you get the results that you want without telling her this. Okay, so answering questions from a woman is slitting your own throat. It would be better to just delete yourself from that occasion, okay? There's many, many ways to go about redirecting this conversations. What you want to figure out is how to be evasive and how to question her questions as the response to her questions. Here's a very short example, and we'll wrap this up pretty quickly. So, if you sit down with a woman and she asks you something, for instance, like, "What do you do for work?" It's really uncomfortable and foolish to be like, "Don't ask me what I do for work. What are you, some kind of gold digger?" Yes, she is, okay? It's not that big of a deal. Don't cry about it. What you want to do is be cool about it. So, something that you might find is an effective response to the question, "What do you do for work?" is, what a great question. You know, other women have asked me that in the past, and let me tell you what they've found. If you play your cards right, you just might find that out. Thank you for that. By the way, how do you feel about airplanes? And then, you know, go from there. I mean, to scientifically break down that example real quick here, what are we doing? She asks you a question you're not going to answer. You are going to laugh, and then you're going to put her in her place. But it's got to be in a friendly way. You don't want to be mean to women. That doesn't work. I mean, let me take that back. Sometimes it does work. Unfortunately. This is how inverted this shit has gotten. Sometimes that works. Not the best strategy for the majority of men. So don't start there, okay? You want to put them in their place, put them down, whatever. That's going to sound terrible, but in reality, you want to be friendly, not mean. You don't want to act offended because that's gay. So don't. You want to build, okay, so you're going to laugh, you're going to kind of put her in her place. You're going to build some rapport here and kind of empathize with her, but you're also going to associate her with a harem dynamic. So like I said, she asks you what you do for work, and you go, that's a great question. You don't answer the question. You tell her, other women have asked me that in the past, and let me tell you what they've found. So that's, you're associating her with the harem. That's what she wants. This is, I'm sorry to tell you, but this is how inverted this has gotten, okay? So other women have asked me that in the past. Let me tell you what they've found. If you play your cards right, you just might get the answer to that question. That's carrot dangling and harem association. You need to be able to do those things without offending someone or shitting on them or putting them in their place too hard. And these are just basic sales process techniques that if you've been in real estate and made any money or insurance or whatever, you will have been made familiar with these things. If you don't know anything about sales, you are cooked, homie. Get off your ass and learn about sales. It's very easy. There's steps to overcoming objections. There's steps to building rapport. There's effective ways to communicate. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do this. So you dangle the carrot, you reintroduce friendliness and take control by asking her some fucking ridiculous question, like, how do you feel about airplanes? And guess what that does? That also leads her into this fantasy land and asks her to tell you about her feelings, which is all she's going to do anyway. Anytime you ask her a question, 90% of the time you'll ask her a question and she'll tell you about her feelings. You don't have to fight against the natural inclination for her to do that for you. You can lead her down that path that is going to be a very smooth, effortless path for her to go down. There's not going to be a lot of friction there. And if you ask these questions correctly and you do it with a smile on your face and a light-hearted attitude, then you're going to allow her to fantasize and share all that with you. So that's just one example of how to handle one question that happens a lot, that I see a lot of people completely fucking blow it when they try to handle that particular topic. Good luck. Couple more notes. These might be heartbreakers too. I hear there's a lot of talk on the internet about femininity and masculinity. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, that shit's a psyop. Masculinity is the biological condition of having a penis on your body. Femininity is the biological condition of having a vagina on your body. That's all there is to it. Describe behaviors with accurate descriptors. What's femininity? It doesn't exist, man. Does she have a vagina? Yes. Okay. Well then, home run then, bro. Good. You found one. The imagination of this fairy tale shit where like femininity means submissiveness and kindness and selflessness and all that, that's absolute bullshit. That is not what it is. That is not how it works. That is not what they do. It is foolish to try to commingle all these terms because it confuses your thought process. If she has a vagina, she's feminine. If you have a dick, you're masculine. what you're trying to do is describe behaviors like submissiveness, being quiet, being agreeable, being non-confrontational, being not adversarial, being not non-competitive as femininity. And that would be great, man. That would be great. But that's not what's happening here. That's not how it is. That's not how it has been in the past. Women are going to be competitive with each other and with you. Women are going to be adversarial to you. It's like, I don't know, the first book in the Bible doesn't fucking matter if you believe in the Bible or not. She probably doesn't at all, even if she says she does. But she's going to be adversarial. She's going to be competitive. She's going to be disagreeable. She's going to be confrontational. She is not going to be submissive. And none of that has anything to do with femininity. So don't confuse these things. Use accurate descriptors to describe the behaviors and stop confusing yourself and everyone else. So yeah, in closing, femininity is a psyop. Masculinity is a psyop. This is fucking ridiculous to be arguing about this and be name calling each other and saying she's in her masculine and he's in his feminine, and just take the L, okay? Just take the fucking L. Be better. Move forward. Level up. Stop name calling with this femininity and masculinity bullshit. It's gay. It's lame. It's weak. It's fucking embarrassing. So don't embarrass yourself. If you can describe her as submissive, then she's submissive. If you can describe her as adversarial, then she's adversarial. If you can describe her as confrontational, you get the point. Let's not drag this out any further. So, ladies, I hate to break it to you. There's no such thing as unconditional love. There's no such thing as equality. There's no such thing as independence. It's okay. We all need each other. None of us are equal. We all love each other a certain amount, and that can go up with good behavior, and that can go down with shitty behavior. So let's just play the game fairly. And if we can stop trying to name call each other with this femininity and masculinity bullshit game, then people are going to begin to be much less confused, and our relationships are going to be much healthier. So, with that, much love to everybody and good luck.